What would you do if the person you humiliated in public turned out to hold your future in their hands? This is the story of Margaret Walsh, a woman who thought 5 minutes of rage would cost her nothing. She was wrong, dead wrong, because the elderly man she screamed at, belittled and called worthless, he wasn't just anyone. And in 3 days, she'd be standing before him, begging for mercy. This is a story about instant karma, about the price of cruelty, and about how sometimes justice doesn't wait. Sometimes it's already watching you. Saturday afternoon, sunny day. The grocery store parking lot is packed. Cars circling, people hunting for spots. Normal weekend chaos. Harold Stevens pulls into the lot. 72 years old, Korean War veteran, retired judge. But you wouldn't know any of that by looking at him. Just an elderly man in a 15-year-old sedan, simple clothes, moving slowly, taking his time. He spots an open space, signals, starts to turn in. Then it happens. A massive luxury SUV comes screaming around the corner, horn blaring, tires squealing. The driver cuts Harold off completely, blocks the entire lane. Harold stops, confused. He backs up slightly, thinking maybe there's an emergency. Maybe this person needs help. The SUV door flies open. Out steps Margaret Walsh. 45, real estate agent, designer sunglasses, expensive outfit, and a face twisted with rage. She marches straight to Harold's window, already screaming, already furious. "That was my spot. I was here first. How dare you try to steal it from me?" Harold rolls down his window slowly, calmly. "Ma'am, I apologize if there was confusion. I was already turning. I don't care what you were doing. That's my parking space. Are you blind? Are you too senile to see I was here first?" Other shoppers start to notice. Heads turn. Phones come out. People start recording. Harold keeps his voice gentle, patient. "Ma'am, please, you can have the spot. I'll find another. You're damn right I can have it. You old people think you own everything. You're too old to be driving anyway. You're a danger to everyone on the road." A young woman approaches, tries to help. "Excuse me, he was here first, but there's a spot right over there you can..." "Mind your own business. This doesn't concern you." The young woman backs away, shocked. Harold tries again. "Ma'am, that's okay. I'll move on. You can have the space." But Margaret isn't done, not even close. She follows his car as he backs up, still yelling, making sure everyone can hear. "People like you are a burden on society, driving around in your piece of junk car, taking up space, moving like you've got all day while the rest of us have actual lives to live." Then she sees it, Harold's license plate, the veteran designation. And Margaret actually laughs, a cruel, mocking laugh. "Oh, of course you're a veteran, always playing the victim card, always expecting special treatment. Newsflash, nobody cares anymore." The parking lot goes silent. Even the people who weren't paying attention are now staring, horrified. Harold's hands tighten on the steering wheel, just for a moment. Then he releases, takes a breath, and drives away to the far end of the lot. Several people rush over to him, apologizing, offering support. "Sir, I'm so sorry you had to experience that. That was completely uncalled for. Are you okay?" Harold smiles sadly. "It's all right. Thank you for your kindness." He goes inside to do his shopping, like nothing happened. Margaret? She parks her SUV in the spot she fought for, victorious, powerful, completely satisfied with herself. She even posts about it later on social media. Finally stood up to an entitled senior who thought the world owed him something. Sometimes you have to be assertive and not let people walk all over you. She has no idea what she's just done, no idea who she just humiliated, and absolutely no idea what's coming in 3 days. That evening, Harold sits alone in his living room. His wife passed 2 years ago. The house feels emptier on days like this. He spent his entire life serving others, 4 years in Korea, 40 years as a circuit court judge, treating every person with dignity, with fairness, with respect. And this is what he gets in return. He's not angry. Harold doesn't do anger, but he's hurt, deeply hurt, and tired. So tired of cruelty being rewarded, of people like Margaret thinking they can treat others like garbage with zero consequences. Meanwhile, Margaret's having the best week of her life. She closes a huge real estate deal, celebrates with expensive wine, posts photos of her success online. She has a court date on Tuesday. Nothing serious, just a speeding ticket from 3 weeks ago. She had been going 58 in a 35-mile-per-hour school zone on her phone, annoyed by traffic. Margaret has fought tickets before. She's good at arguing, good at intimidating. She'll talk her way out of this. Worst case, a small fine. No big deal. Then Monday happens. The parking lot videos go viral. Local viral, but viral nonetheless. Community Facebook groups explode. Thousands of shares, tens of thousands of views. People are furious. This woman is absolutely disgusting. How can anyone treat an elderly veteran like this? Someone needs to find out who she is. Except, people already know who she is. Margaret's face is all over her real estate marketing. Her social media is public. Within hours, her identity is everywhere. Local news picks it up. Viral video shows entitled woman berating elderly veteran over a parking space. They don't name her on air, but everyone who knows Margaret recognizes her immediately. Her phone starts blowing up, angry messages, one-star reviews on her business page. Her real estate office gets flooded with calls. Her boss pulls her into his office. Margaret, you need to lay low. This is bad for business. Margaret's furious. She posts a non-apology that makes everything worse. I'm sorry people are so sensitive these days. I was having a bad day and that man was being difficult. Can we all just move on? The backlash intensifies. But Margaret's not worried about public opinion. She's dealt with angry people before. This will blow over. It always does. Tuesday morning arrives. Margaret wakes up annoyed. Between the social media drama and this stupid court date, her week has been exhausting. She dresses professionally, business suit, her armor. She's ready to get this over with. Traffic court. The building is old, fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs. Margaret checks in and waits for her case to be called. Margaret Walsh versus State, case number 2024-TF8847. She stands, smooths her suit, approaches the bench with confidence. She's done this before. Stay calm, be respectful but firm, make your case. These small-town judges are usually pushovers anyway. She looks up at the judge's bench, and her entire world stops. It's him, the elderly man from the parking lot, Judge Harold Stevens. Margaret's legs nearly give out. Her mouth goes dry. Her carefully prepared arguments evaporate from her mind. No, 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 no. Harold looks down at her case file, his reading glasses perched on his nose, his face completely neutral, professional. He gives no indication that he recognizes her. Margaret stands frozen, her mind racing. Does he remember me? Of course he remembers me. Should I ask for a different judge? Would that make it worse? Maybe he doesn't recognize me. Maybe I look different in a suit. Maybe... Miss Walsh. Harold's voice cuts through her panic. Calm, measured. You're here regarding a citation for exceeding the speed limit by 23 miles per hour in an active school zone. The citation also notes you were operating a mobile device while driving. How do you plead? Margaret's mouth moves, but nothing comes out at first. She clears her throat, tries to find her voice, her confidence. Your Honor, I plead not guilty. I believe the speed detection equipment may have been faulty, and I was using a hands-free device for GPS. Miss Walsh. Harold interrupts gently but firmly. The officer's report includes dashboard camera footage showing you holding a phone to your ear. Would you like to revise your plea? The courtroom is silent. Other defendants waiting for their turn are now watching this exchange with interest. Margaret's prepared speech crumbles. Your Honor, I was briefly glancing at my phone for navigational purposes, but I wasn't... The footage is clear, Miss Walsh. You were holding the device to your ear for approximately 45 seconds while traveling through an active school zone at 15 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, when children were present. Margaret feels the walls closing in. She tries a different approach, appealing to sympathy. Your Honor, I understand this looks bad, but I'm a professional. I was taking an important work call. I've never had any accidents. My driving record is mostly clean. Harold removes his glasses slowly, deliberately. He looks at Margaret directly for the first time since she approached the bench. Miss Walsh, before I render a decision on this traffic violation, I need to address something. Margaret's heart drops into her stomach. It's standard procedure in my courtroom to consider character, especially in cases involving reckless behavior in school zones where children's safety is paramount. No, please no. It has come to my attention through multiple sources in video evidence that has been shared with this court that you were involved in an incident this past Saturday. An incident involving aggressive behavior, verbal harassment, and public disturbance. Is this accurate? The courtroom erupts in whispers. Everyone knows. Everyone has seen the videos. Margaret wants to lie, wants to deny everything, but she knows the evidence exists. Your Honor, that was a private matter, a misunderstanding between... A private matter? Harold's voice remains calm, but carries the weight of 40 years on the bench. Ms. Walsh, you publicly berated an elderly citizen in a crowded parking lot. You made derogatory comments about veterans. You created a disturbance that required store security intervention. Multiple witnesses, multiple videos. This speaks to a pattern of aggressive, reckless behavior, both in your vehicle and outside of it. Margaret's carefully constructed professional facade shatters. Your Honor, I didn't know who you were. If I had known... The words are out before she can stop them. Harold raises his hand. Margaret falls silent. Miss Walsh, that statement troubles me more than anything else you've said today. His voice is quiet now, but somehow that makes it worse. You're suggesting that if you had known my profession, you would have treated me with respect. But because you perceived me as powerless, as someone beneath you, you felt entitled to treat me with cruelty and contempt. Margaret's eyes start to water, not from remorse, from the humiliation of being caught, of losing control, of everyone seeing her brought down. That's not justice, Ms. Walsh. That's opportunism. That's predatory behavior. And it reveals something deeply concerning about your character and your judgment. You don't respect people because they deserve respect as human beings. You only respect people when you think they have power over you. The courtroom is dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Your Honor, please. Margaret's voice cracks. Regarding the traffic violation, given the clear evidence of speeding 23 miles per hour over the limit in an active school zone while distracted by a mobile device, combined with your attempt to provide false testimony to this court just moments ago, I find you guilty on all charges. Margaret's attorney instinct kicks in, despite her panic. Your Honor, I respectfully request that you recuse yourself from this case due to our previous encounter. There's a clear conflict of motion denied. Harold's response is immediate. I am rendering judgment based solely on the evidence presented in this case.
Your conduct toward me is relevant only as it pertains to character assessment, which is well within my purview for sentencing purposes. The traffic violation stands on its own." Margaret feels the room spinning. "I hereby impose the following sentence." Harold looks down at his notes. "A fine of $1,500, 3 points on your driving license, mandatory completion of a defensive driving course." Margaret exhales slightly. "Okay, that's manageable. Expensive, but manageable. She can handle. And 60 hours of community service to be completed at the local Veterans Affairs Hospital, where you will assist elderly veterans with daily activities, mobility support, and companionship." Margaret's face goes white. The courtroom murmurs again, louder this time. "Additionally," Harold continues, his tone shifting back to official, "given the severity of reckless behavior in a school zone, combined with your demonstrated pattern of aggressive conduct and disregard for public safety, I am suspending your driving privileges for 90 days. "Your Honor, no." Margaret's voice rises in desperation. "I need my car for work. I'll lose clients. My entire career depends on being able to drive to properties. You can't—" "I can, Ms. Walsh, and I have." Harold's voice is steel now. "You should have considered the consequences before endangering children in a school zone while distracted by a mobile device, before lying to this court, and before demonstrating a pattern of aggressive, reckless behavior both on the road and in public spaces." Tears stream down Margaret's face now, real tears. "This will ruin me." "Perhaps," Harold says quietly, "or perhaps those 60 hours serving veterans will teach you something your lifetime of success clearly hasn't. Something about respect, about humility, about the value of people you deemed worthless." He leans forward slightly. "Ms. Walsh, I've spent 40 years in this courtroom. I've seen people at their absolute worst and at their absolute best. And here's what I've learned. How we treat people when we think no one important is watching reveals our true character. You saw an elderly man in an old car and assumed he was powerless, irrelevant, not worth basic human decency. You never considered that every person deserves dignity, regardless of their status, their age, or their appearance. That's not just morally wrong, it's a fundamental failure of character." The courtroom is transfixed. Even the bailiff has stopped shuffling papers. "My hope, my genuine hope, is that your community service will teach you something success and privilege have failed to teach you. That every person has value. That the veterans you'll be serving, people like the man you humiliated, gave their youth and risked their lives so you could have the freedom to build your career, to drive your expensive car, to speak your mind without fear. True strength isn't found in dominating others. It's found in lifting them up, in showing kindness when you have nothing to gain from it, in treating people with dignity simply because they're human beings."
Harold puts his glasses back on. "Court is adjourned. You have 30 days to begin your community service. Your driving suspension begins immediately. Bailiffs, please provide Miss Walsh with the necessary documentation." Margaret can barely move. The bailiff hands her papers. She takes them with shaking hands. As she turns to leave, she hears whispers, sees people looking at her, some with pity, most with satisfaction. Justice served, karma delivered. She walks out of the courthouse into the bright afternoon sun, without her car keys, which she had to surrender to the court, without her confidence, without her armor. She has to call someone for a ride. The humiliation is suffocating. Within hours, the story spreads faster than the original parking lot video. Local news covers it, social media explodes. Karen, who bullied elderly veteran, gets sentenced by the same man in court. Her real estate career takes a devastating hit. Clients cancel, new prospects disappear. Her boss suggests she take a leave of absence until things cool down. Margaret's world, so carefully constructed around success and status and power, crumbles in days. For 90 days, Margaret can't drive. She relies on friends, ride shares, public transportation. She experiences the vulnerability she mocked in Harold, the inconvenience, the loss of independence. And every week, she reports to the VA hospital for community service. At first, she's resentful, angry. This is beneath her, a waste of her time. But slowly, something shifts. She meets veterans, hears their stories, sits with men who stormed beaches, flew missions, survived horrors she can't imagine. Men who came home to build quiet lives, to raise families, to serve their communities. Men like Harold. She helps an 80-year-old veteran named Frank get to physical therapy. He tells her about Korea, about losing friends, about coming home to nothing and building everything from scratch. She reads mail to a 92-year-old named William, who's losing his sight. He shows her photos from World War II, tells her about his wife who passed last year, about how lonely it gets. She pushes wheelchairs, serves meals, listens to stories, and slowly, painfully, she begins to understand what she'd dismissed, what she'd mocked, what she'd called worthless. 3 months pass. Margaret completes her community service. Her driving privileges are restored. Her life slowly returns to some version of normal. But she's different, quieter, less certain of herself, more aware of the space she takes up and how she uses it. She writes Harold a letter. She's not required to. Nobody asked her to, but she does it anyway. She doesn't make excuses, doesn't ask for forgiveness, just acknowledges what she did. Thanks him for the lesson, though it's clear she's still processing it, still learning from it. Harold receives the letter, reads it once, then files it away. He doesn't respond. He doesn't need to. Justice was never about making Margaret grovel. It was about giving her an opportunity, a chance to see beyond herself, to become better than she was. What she does with that opportunity is up to her. But at least now she knows. She knows that every person she meets carries a story, a history, a value that has nothing to do with their car or their clothes or their age. She knows that cruelty always has a price. And she knows that you never truly know who you're dealing with, that the person you belittle today might be the person who determines your fate tomorrow. Margaret thought she could bully an elderly man with no consequences. She thought power came from aggression, from intimidation, from status, from youth. She learned the hardest way possible that real power looks different. It's quiet. It's patient. It's justice waiting calmly for you to stand before it. Harold Stevens didn't seek revenge. He simply ensured that actions have consequences. That maybe, just maybe, one person could learn that cruelty always comes with a price. Be careful how you treat people, especially when you think no one important is watching, because karma doesn't always wait. Sometimes justice is already standing right in front of you, and you're too blind to see it coming. If this story gave you that sweet taste of justice, hit subscribe for more karma stories where bullies get exactly what they deserve. Drop a comment. Have you ever witnessed instant karma? And don't miss the next video where a corporate bully picks the wrong employee to mess with. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.